lugs. This is probably one of the worst pitted crankshafts I've ever seen. There's not a flat surface on that crankshaft. I don't know if this motor sat wet or they just put the crankshaft that was rusty in the back in here. But the problem we have, I mean, I know a lot of y'all know about flywheels and how tight they fit on the back. I mean, this flywheel, I bet there's probably 50, 60 thousandths gap in between there. I'm hoping my bolts will line that up as good as I can get it. But, you know, 50, 60 thousandths is going to make a lot of difference on the starter. I'm just wondering if that helped tear this thing up to begin with. Actually, what helped tear this thing up was the bolts that were used to hold the starter on. Let me see if I can find one here. Here it is. Somebody used a nice, it was a grade 8 bolt, but it's not a starter bolt. And y'all know what happens when you don't use a starter bolt. There's just too much play. Starter bolt has to have a raised edge so that it fits tight, keeps that starter from moving. That's what tore up the flywheel, but I'm hoping that that crankshaft doesn't have too much play in it right there, and I'm hoping that that surface is going to be flat enough to keep that flywheel pretty straight up against that gear on the starter. Well, we'll find out, because I'm going to put it back together. And on the transmission, the broken bell housing is actually broken off for a reason on this transmission. These Turbo 400s don't like to fit in the chevelles with headers on them. So somebody has broken the edge of the transmission off here so they can get it past the header. They left this side on instead of just taking a Sawzall, maybe cutting off the edge, which they needed that to hold the dust cover on. But there's not one on this side. I've re-tapped right into the sides here for my dust cover screws on several, because these would be broken off just or stripped out, or a bolt hole in them. You just re-drill them, put a little sheet metal screw and they hold good. But you could have carved that off there and that off there and probably got it in between these headers. But that is a major problem with these. Even with that one, that light's right in it. There is just not enough room between these two headers to get the transmission in and out. And instead of taking the header off and moving it to the side, because if you look, there's no room on the control arm, so even taking it off is not going to help you. Both sides, same way. I mean, it's right on the frame. You can't take it off and move it enough to get the transmission out. So I can see why they did what they did, but they just basically broke it off. I mean, I'd have at least used the Sawzall if I was going to do it that way. But yeah, I thought it was busted off, but after pulling the transmission out, I know why. That other Chevelle I had here, 67, we took a Turbo 350 out, put a Turbo 400 in it, and yeah, it had headers, and I fought that transmission sideways up in there to get it in. But I got it in there without having to cut anything. I guess these people want to do it a little easier, but we're going to put that flywheel on there. I'm going to put a new starter on it. I'm going to use the right starter bolts. And I'm going to cross our fingers with this. I don't like doing it this way, but the only other alternative is to change crankshaft, and you know, you might as well just rebuild the motor. And I don't think the man wants to do that. I could ask him, but I think he wants to drive this car. This is a driver. I mean, you can see there's a few patches. They didn't cut out the rust. I don't know if that's... They got a little seam sealer around the cracks, it looks like. Yeah, I can see it drooling out here through the rust hole, so they just seam sealed the panel down. Actually, to tell you the truth, I think that's really all they... I don't really see any weld or hot spots. Oh yeah, here we go. Jeez, I can see it now. Hot spots where they welded it from the top side. And the trunk. Oh yeah. Might want to check them fuel lines. That don't look like a real good rig there. He was having a run problem too. There's another fuel filter. It's probably been clogged for years. Okay. My other buddy said that the return, or the vent line to the gas tank goes up inside the trunk. I'm gonna have to open the trunk to find it. Goes up inside the trunk and then comes back down. So it's like a high loop or a air trap of some kind, but it vents the vapors to the fuel tank right back down, you know, not far from the exhaust right here. But he wanted me to look at that when they replaced the pans in that other Chevelle. He said something about that. He wanted me to look and see if this one was like that. But this is actually really a small block car by the looks of it, with the code numbers. But they stuffed a 396 big block in it, passenger high performance block. I did get this thing to start once, but the carburetor was pouring gas everywhere and it wasn't running good, so. And then I never got it to start again. The flywheel was so chewed and the starter was cocked and the drive gear was chewed. You can see some of them. It was definitely chewing. Took a whole bunch of teeth off that one. Probably the worst spots. But that's it. Alright, that's what we're doing. Get ready to put the flywheel back on. Stuff it back in there. Alright, y'all have a good day. I'm enjoying myself. Thanks for watching.